because
You're still talking about Nicolas Cage.
I hate Nicolas Cage. Can you tell that I hate Nicolas Cage?
I think you need to let it go.
Nicolas Cage. I've actually got that tattooed on my bum.
Oh.
That's an impact.
Oh.
Hello and welcome to the Popcorn Club. This week we went to go and see Joe.
So Joe is the story of Joe, played by Nicolas Cage, an ex-con in the Deep South who is struggling to sort of get back on track, fosters a friendship with a young boy called Gary who's dealing with domestic problems and is...
looking for a father figure.
Yes, amongst all the other...
and just someone to save him from his terrible life.
The first thing I want to mention is the kind of similarities to a few films of recent years. The first film that springs to mind immediately is Mud. It's the Ty Sheridan, the actor who plays Gary, was also in Mud, and also it kind of had some echoes of Blue Ruin as well, I think, for me, sort of dark indie violent film. So you really enjoyed Blue Ruin earlier on this year, and Mud was it your favourite film of last year? Or was it certainly at the top of your list towards the end of last year?
Yeah, it was at the top until Captain Phillips snuck in there.
In tone, Joe is very similar to, or it seems to be right in your wheelhouse of films that you're a fan of. But
coming of age.
Are we going to be able to talk about Joe without talking about the elephant in the room? And by elephant, I mean Nicolas Cage. And by the room, I mean Joe, the film.
Well, no, because I hate Nicolas Cage.
Brief history in your relationship with Nicolas Cage. How's that gone so far?
In my notes, I've got in big capital letters, lazy, inconsistent, moron with bad hair, and I'm not talking about Russ. I'm talking about Nicolas Cage. But I cannot take him seriously in anything, and I really tried with this one. So this film I'm really struggling with because a lot of it I love, and as you say, it's right in my... it's got all the ingredients that normally make me think this sort of film's great. And a lot of stuff it does really well, but I just cannot... I know people are talking about how this is another one where return to form, you know, he's pulled out of the bag again. I don't think he ever had a bag to pull it out of. It just goes from like shit to even shitter. And I know some people find it funny, like he's like funny he's bad in a funny way. I don't find it funny, I find it offensive. You either get mumbly, lazy, not even trying Nicolas Cage, or you get shouty, overacty Nicolas Cage, and he's not a good actor. I don't like him as an actor at all. It's a huge problem for me in ultimately enjoying this film, and I'm sad. I'm genuinely sad about that because there are some lovely, great, awesome bits to this film.
As a whole, I think it works slightly better than Mud. Both films have the sort of shootout at the end. In Mud, it kind of came a little bit off guard. It didn't really kind of fit with the rest of the film, whereas I think with Joe, with this film, it feels like that's where it's leading to from the beginning. I think it fits in the world that the film was created much better than the climax of Mud did. So
this film is, I guess, Mud's cousin in that it's like Mud but much grittier, like much darker, and I agree with what you've just said. It should have been better than Mud. It had it had most of the ingredients to take it that way. For me, Nicolas Cage ruined all of that. So thanks, Nicolas Cage.
The way that David Gordon Green handles the film, it's all done in such a naturalistic fashion. You've got all the scenes out in the woods in the forestry where they're working with the crew that doesn't really serve to push the plot forward in any way. It builds the world beautifully, and it puts such texture into this sort of area of the Deep South where it's just dripping with testosterone and sweat and everything else.
That's fun. Let's go. I loved the supporting cast. The guy who played his dad was a real life homeless guy, and he died shortly after filming, which is really sad.
He died in February. He drowned following a drinking binge.
Oh God! But I mean,
his performance was fantastic,
so authentic, and now we know why. But regardless of the hows and whys, it was a wonderful performance, and you hate him. You feel for Ty Sheridan's character Gary. It's just an appalling situation to be in.
Well, I mean, the plot itself is, as I say, these big, bold, heavy archetype characters, and it's just the nature of redemption for Nicolas Cage. By the time Ty Sheridan's character meets Joe and they start to foster their relationship, you kind of, so you know exactly where the film's going to end up, but the way that it plays out and the way it takes its time in getting there, and while doing so, filling in the texture to the world, I think is really great.
Yes. It's just, why use Nicolas Cage? There are a million other actors they could have used that had done that more justice. I really liked a lot of what it was trying to do, and I thought a lot of what it was doing, it did well. I just think Nic Cage was a terrible casting decision, and that's not the fault of anyone else in the film, and it doesn't detract from their work in and of itself, but I just can't give it a high rating because I just get so wound up by the fact that Nicolas Cage is offending my face with his presence on the screen. I think it's a relatively high mark given how much I hate Nicolas Cage, so I'm giving it a 7. If Nicolas Cage wasn't in it, it was someone else, it would definitely be somewhere like a 9. So the fact that it still managed to achieve a 7, I think, says a lot about the calibre of the rest of the film if you take Nicolas Cage out.
I had nowhere near as big a problem with Nicolas Cage. I quite enjoy him as an actor. I'm not going to go into... We're not going to have a Nicolas Cage debate here and now because we'll be here for hours.
I don't think I can live with you anymore.
I know. I'm going to give it an 8. I think it's a fantastically well-told story. I think that it's in equal parts sort of grotesque and tense, but also surprisingly funny in places as well. Even the little bits where he was smiling through the pain bit, that was fun. Do you want to do that little face?
No.
Is that what you were like when you were kind of watching the whole film?
Yes. Next week we're off to see Guardians of the Galaxy, which I'm quite excited about because I love Chris Pratt. Also, who doesn't love small raccoon-like creatures? Again, adorable. Let us know what you thought of Joe. Who else hates Nicolas Cage? Please let me know. I need to start a support group or something. If you love Nicolas Cage, I don't ever want to know you exist. So don't tell me. No, I'm kidding.
I think I love Nicolas Cage now.
All opinions are welcome. So if you want to let us know what you thought of Joe, if you've seen it, leave us a comment. You can tweet us, you can Facebook us. And we will see you next week. Bye. Please don't defend Nicolas Cage.
Well, I wasn't going to. I think... Ooh.